Former UFC fighter Josh Koscheck is known as the most hated fighter in UFC history. The only guy to fight a cut man.
Stop! It's cool. Stop! Alright, it's cool, bro. It's cool. Hey, man, I'm trying to. Why are you putting your hands on me, John? I'm trying to. It's all good, man.
Who also made a guy so angry in their fight that he was willing to lose his career just to get one last dig on him.
Daly punches Koscheck at the end of the fight.
A guy who no other UFC fighter or staff has any good things to say about.
Let's have a show of hands who likes Josh Koscheck. Who's a fan of Josh Koscheck? What, 7, 8?
He just converted to pounds there.
I don't know. My opinion is if you like Josh Koscheck, then you've not met the guy. That's my opinion.
A guy who has been caught multiple times pretending he's been fouled.
Here, definitely down. Oh, wait a minute. He didn't even hit him. It looked like he toed him in the eye. Uh-oh. Let's take a look at the replay. We might want to show this replay to Josh Koscheck.
Now, Kung Lee in the corner of Anthony Johnson.
Hold on a second. Let's look at that again. It looks like his finger went into his eye. Now the crowd is booing. Again, here comes the knee. No. He kind of
maybe on the graze on the way out.
Him with the
all of this was some of the worst trash talk you're gonna hear in UFC history.
We just, get in George's face and motorboat his ass.
Josh would go 2-0 on the regional scene before joining the cast for the first season of The Ultimate Fighter. Straight away from the first season of TUF, Josh Koscheck showed how unlikable he was. He literally just bullied Chris Lieben, spraying him with water and just provoking him constantly. And then eventually when they had their fight, Josh Koscheck just laid at him for 15 minutes. And throughout the entire show, he just came off as extremely arrogant and cocky, always stirring up drama in the house, starting conflicts, or just taunting people. The guy seemed to thrive on annoying people. On the first season of TUF, he embraced the role of a bad guy, but not a bad guy you love to hate, just a bad guy you wish wasn't there. He would then have his second fight on TUF against Diego Sanchez, which he was losing a split decision, but Josh's presence was still there, purely annoying people and just annoying the viewers at home. But even though Josh would lose his second fight on TUF, he would still get signed to the UFC like most of the first TUF cast. Now between 2005 and 2007, Josh would go 7-1 in the UFC, picking up wins over former champion Dave Menne and actually avenging his loss on TUF to Diego Sanchez. Now nothing too notable happened in this time. It was just a regular Josh annoying people, talking shit to media, talking shit to fans. But then he would have a fight against possibly the GOAT of the sport, George Rush St. Pierre, at UFC 74, which he would fight Paul Daly in May of 2010. After that, he'd fight Paul Daly in May of 2010. And this is a very infamous moment within UFC history. There's quite a lot of beef added into this fight. Just regular trash talk between the two. Josh Koscheck, literally just being Josh Koscheck. But at the end of the fight, after Josh Koscheck pretty much did nothing against Paul Daly and just kind of sat in him for 15 minutes, Paul Daly was willing to throw away his career just to get one last dig onto Josh Koscheck. Paul Daly was kicked out of the UFC after punching Josh Koscheck after the bell, never to be seen in the UFC again. He'd have a pretty successful career in Bellator, probably most known for his war with Nick Diaz. Wrong Diaz, brother. But yeah, when a guy is willing to risk his entire career just to get a punch in you, that tells you everything. But anyway, after this, Josh Koscheck would be on a 3-fight winning streak and then would begin the TUF season GSP versus Josh Koscheck. Now, Josh would prove to be a pretty shit coach in the fact that in the final, both of the finalists were Team GSP members, and in the semi-finals, only one guy, Namfam, was actually a member of Team Koscheck. He would show a lot of incompetence throughout this season and look like a right dickhead. Some terrible trash talk against GSP. He's one of the nicest guys in MMA, which really made him look like an idiot. And the biggest moment of this TUF season, apart from when GSP brought in a drunk Muay Thai guy, was when Josh Koscheck got in a fight with a quote-unquote male nurse on numerous occasions. Now after this, Josh Koscheck will probably get the best win of his career. Now when the actual fight happened, it was a vintage GSP performance. He dominated Josh for 5 rounds, winning 50-45 on every single judge's scorecard. And Josh Koscheck's career was really running low at the moment. He was 32 years old, but at this point he had 2 cracks at the title. The division was really getting up there in quality. He'd been around for a long time, and it didn't look like he was going to improve much at all. But in his next fight, he would actually pick up the biggest win of his career against Matt Hughes, winning by KO in the last second of the first round, and then would win a split decision against Mike Pierce. But after this, it was all downhill. He would lose a split decision to Johnny Hendricks, which really wasn't that bad because Johnny Hendricks was a killer at the time, even though he's probably on a boatload of juice. But then it got really bad. He get TKO'd by Robbie Lawler, which isn't a bad person to lose to at the time, especially in 2013. But then he got KO'd out cold by Tyron Woodley in one of the nastiest KOs you're ever going to find. Then after that, he didn't fight for about a year and a half. And in early 2015, he came back against Jake Ellenberger, which he got submitted in the second round. And then only a month later, not even a month later, he would fight Eric Silva and get submitted again by guillotine. And then he got cut by the UFC. After a decade spent in the UFC, Josh Koscheck was officially out. He was done. And it wouldn't be another 2 years until he had his next and last fight within Bellator 172, Thompson versus Pitbull, and he got knocked out in the first round, TKO by Mauricio Alonso, who I don't really know who that is. And at this point, Josh Koscheck is 37 years old, 6-fight losing streak, and he finally gave it quits in his career after being finished in his last 5 fights. Now, Josh Koscheck was a really good fighter at one point. Genuinely solid fighter. Could beat anyone on his best day, or at least give anyone a great challenge. But by the end of his career, he was just losing to everybody. At first, when his losing streak first started, he lost to 3 former champs, so great names obviously. But after that, he was losing to not the best of the best, okay? Jake Ellenberger is a recognizable name, but he really ain't the best of the best, you know what I'm saying? Sadly, I don't think his career will ever be took seriously just due to how disliked he is. But, you know, I feel like credit is due where it's due, but by the end of his career, he was the most hated UFC fighter of all time. Anyway, that's it. I'm done. I'm out. See you. Enjoy the rest of the day. Like, subscribe, do all that. The king is out. Let's go.